Horror Minute is rated R. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is also rated R. We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the road we will talk about some adult content and use some of our favorite swear words.
Pincho, Grandi, Dalan, Harami.
Consider yourselves warned. Welcome to Rocky Horror Minute, the podcast where we talk about the Rocky Horror Picture Show and all that's entailed with that in excruciating and deliberating detail, one agonizing minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Leandra.
I'm your other host, Kelly, and we're joined once again by our extra special guest host, Eric Deutsch of Flash Gordon Minute and Escape from New York Minute. How are you, Eric?
Wow, extra special. I have to be good as extra special.
You definitely are. So today we're discussing Minute 22 of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is yet another minute encompassing the classic time warp. We left off in the middle of Magenta's little solo in time warp. The last thing she said was, "So you can't see me?" And here she picks up with, "No, not at all. In another dimension with voyeuristic intentions, well secluded, I see all." And as she's doing that, she's kind of backing up, beckoning, and then she swings around a banister and kind of like rests her head, and you get a really good creepy close-up of her face. Meanwhile, Riff Raff shoves Brad and Janet forward towards her. Then he prompts her with...
Oh, I can do this one. He's talking again.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he's not singing again, so I can do this one.
Okay.
With a bit of a mind flip.
You're into the time slip! Ah!
And nothing will ever be the same.
You're spaced out on sensation!
Like a representation!
And then they sing all together, "Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again." Now, during that little interchange, Magenta stands up and starts kind of just like rubbing on a banister next to a dead gigantic bird of some type. Yeah, Riff Raff, again, it like really gets in their faces, and so Janet does faint for the second time, and Brad catches her again. This is less of a like full like swoon, and more she just kind of flops over for a second, and Brad wakes her up real quick, and then she flops back up. And then they do this up and down pointing motion, Riff and Magenta, as they go over towards where Columbia is sitting. And so this is our first shot of Columbia. Riff and Magenta position themselves on either side of her and start doing this back and forth, in and out arm motion, while she is perched up on the box singing her solo. And her solo is, "I was walking down the street just a having a think, when a snake of a guy gave me an evil wink. He shook me up, took me by surprise. He had a pickup truck and the devil's eyes. He stared at me and I felt a change. Time meant nothing, never would again." And then they go back into "Let's do the time warp again." And the last thing we see, it's mid-time warp again, and it's panning up the line of all the Transylvanians. And that's where it cuts off for this minute. Big one for the time warp. Lots of interesting things happening here.
This might be my favorite minute of the entire film.
You
Wow.
literally just said what I was about to say.
Would you say that I took the words right out of your mouth?
Oh, well done. Well done.
Very good. And a song Leandra and I have sung at karaoke.
So, Eric, how about you kick off why you love this minute?
So there are a bunch of reasons, but the main one is Columbia. When as I said a couple of episodes ago, when I first heard the song, it was at the junior high dances. I hadn't seen the movie, and this part of the song starts, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. All of a sudden, this high-pitched voice comes on that was not anything like the voices we'd already heard in this song. I couldn't really make out what she was saying. It was so wacky. Then I see the movie, and I said, "Oh, all right, okay, this makes sense." It still sort of comes out of nowhere a bit, which is great, because again, it's a new character who we don't know yet is going to be one of the main characters, and she's just suddenly showing up in the middle of this song. This is one of those songs that in the pre-internet that I sat down to try to decipher the lyrics to, And I'm sure that that's something that a lot of people probably did. This part of the song was the one that I had the toughest time getting, which made it all the more satisfying when I figured it out. But it turns out I had only partially figured it out because once there was the internet and I was able to check what I had come up with a few years later, I had a couple of them wrong that are kind of silly that I still remember. So there's when I said to a guy, give me an evil wink, I thought she was saying when a secular guy gave me an evil wink.
Ooh, I love that though.
No, not a secular guy.
Yes, a secular guy.
That's a problem that I dislike.
And then he stared at me and I felt the change. I thought she was saying he stared at me and I failed to change, which is completely opposite of what she's actually saying.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But this is the main reason why it's my favorite part, though. There are two specific moments in two specific songs of women singing that drive me absolutely crazy. One of them is a song, Car Song by Elastica. There's a part where the lead singer goes, in every little Honda there may lurk a Peter Fonda. And she goes, ooh, and it just kills me every time.
Oh.
But in this song, when Columbia goes, time meant nothing, and she kind of like rasps her voice that like time meant nothing, it just completely gets me, and she'd get me to do whatever she wanted to at that exact moment when she does that.
Have you ever seen Shock Treatment?
No, I have not actually.
So
yeah,
if you like Columbia, you need to watch Shock Treatment.
All right.
Because Columbia's not in it, but Little Nell is in it playing a very similar character. Plus, it's a Richard O'Brien classic. And I mean, he's amazing in it too. Of course, you could wait until we finish Rocky Horror Minute and do Shock Treatment and just listen to it 1 minute at a time. But anyway, she plays kind of a sexy nurse character with a ridiculously short little outfit.
Nice.
And she bends over all the time, and she says stuff like, okay!
Yeah, she is. I love Little Nell, and she was so great in the Rocky Horror live shadowcast they did on, or not shadowcast, the live like Zoom show they did on Halloween.
For the Wisconsin Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was MVP of that, hands down.
Love her.
I would have spent substantially more to watch her do what she did. She was just wonderful.
So yeah, Leandra, why is it your favorite?
For very similar reasons to Eric, but I am somebody who's played all of the roles in Rocky Horror several times, but Magenta is always the one that was my first major one, the one that I cared the most about, the one that I've spent probably too much money on at this point, just to perfect my costume. This is the best of the Magenta minutes, and then you get to see Columbia living her best life.
Yeah, I also love Columbia in this minute, and of course, as a Magenta lover, it's her big scene between this and the last minute. And by the way, Leandra's by far the best Magenta I've ever seen, and I don't think that'll offend anybody because I know that there's lots of great Magentas out there. I haven't seen that many of them though. So, but she's amazing. She knows every blink, every tiny expression. She's really, really got Magenta down. So if you ever have the chance to see Leandra perform Magenta, don't miss it.
I do thoroughly enjoy Magenta, and I have been playing her long enough that I have gone through frame by frame and gone, okay, well, she's stepping with her left foot here. She's stepping with her right foot here. She blinks on this line. She's looking at this place. And that's because I very much, if I'm going to keep doing this thing, I want to do a very good job at it. And back in the beginning of this, the very good job was being as close to exactly what Patricia Quinn was doing as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And as I've said many times on the show, I still think that's the foundation of great shadow casting. I love when people diverge and do their own thing, but I think you have to have the screen accuracy down first, and it needs to be a choice, not just not knowing what's happening on the screen or what the blocking should be.
That being said, going to a live performance of the Rocky Horror Picture Show with the movie on in the background and you have a shadow cast, you really can't go wrong as long as you're having fun.
No, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
talking about the gold standard. Like, to me, the gold standard isn't necessarily perfectly screen accurate and not diverging, but it is somebody who knows that and is making a deliberate choice to do something different. That's all.
I can appreciate that.
I'm far from perfectly screen accurate or knowing perfectly screen accurate for any character I play. I try, but I'm not there yet by any stretch.
So things that I love about this also are Magenta and Columbia have, I think, the best costumes in the entire show.
Yeah.
So there are different parts of Magenta's maid costume that when I first started doing this, the, it wasn't pre-internet, but it was certainly pre me thinking that this stuff would be on the internet, which was simply not true. And everybody who I had ever seen do Magenta did it in a very, very super short little maid dress, very short sleeves, and like super tiny apron. And I'm like, oh, okay, that must be right. And then once I started looking at it, I was like, that's the opposite of right. Oh no. And her costume is incredibly detailed. There are 3 pin tucks on each sleeve. There are 3 pin tucks on either side of the front of the dress. The the dress itself isn't just standard buttons. They are buttons that get closed with fabric loops. It is just there's no reason for it to be that intricate, but I'm very happy that it is, and I love everything about it. My mom, who made my first good magenta costume, is probably the person who I got all of this attention to detail from because when I said, "Hey, I was kind of hoping that I could get an apron, but I could like buy one from Party City," she said, "Oh, no, that is not acceptable." And she started looking at things and she's like, "I think that there are 17 pleats on the apron. What do you think, Leandra?" And I was like, I think you're right. And we looked at it and it was so much fun. It was really a bonding moment between 2 incredibly big nerds. And then, of course, with
Yeah.
Columbia's costume, so bright, so over the top. The bow tie is just larger than life. The makeup is larger than life. She's so pretty and so bright, and she's almost inhumanly sparkly. She's almost bordering on terrifying looking,
Yeah.
and I love
Yeah,
that.
her makeup is really something else. Um I and yeah, of the only person who might possibly give them a run for their money in costume department would be Frank, of course, who we haven't met yet properly, but his both every costume he wears in the movie, but the sweet transvestite outfit and especially I love his floor show outfit are iconic, obviously, and I love them. But to me, like the one that always caught my eye the most was Columbia's. All that gold sequins.
It really takes a very bold costume to draw away from the fact that she is literally singing on top of a jukebox. It took
Yeah.
me years to catch that, and as I've said in the past, I wasn't a super intelligent kid, so your mileage may vary. You might have seen it the first time and gone, "Oh, she's on a jukebox, that's cool." It took me years, and that
Yeah,
jukebox is a Rockola Model 1452.
the more I know. But yeah, I mean, she's obviously going to steal the show, like, and be the center of attention anywhere she goes. I think that's very much Columbia's character. I think that's probably why she doesn't necessarily get along as well with Frank.
Well, she loved him. Did you hear me? She loved him.
Right, yeah. But what did it get her? A big nothing.
At least it was a big nothing.
Right. But anyway, so absolutely agreed in terms of how great their costumes are.
And some of the other pieces to this, Magenta's boots in this, when she stands up on top of the, I guess no, I guess it's not a railing, but kind of that half wall. You see that they are suede Victorian style stiletto boots. These don't exist outside of Sue Blaine's fantasy world. But Betsy Johnson released a very similar pair in the early 2000s, and they became the holy grail for people playing Magenta. And I found them on sale for $100, and I immediately bought them. And I got them, and they fit just fine. And then I tried to stand up in them, and the they're like 5,000 feet tall, and
Yeah.
I look like a newborn giraffe.
Yeah, I'm not good with heels. I have really bad weak ankles and I'm clumsy as hell in general, but I always want to have the most screen accurate costume. So I always try and wear magenta boots that are tall like that. I don't have the Betsy Johnsons. I would if I could find them in my size, for like anywhere, but I don't think they're making them anymore. But anyway, yeah, so I am keeping an eye out for a pair in my size, but even so, I suck at walking in them. So when I do Magenta in particular, because her shoes are the hardest for me of the characters I play, it's always a battle between, do I wear my less screen accurate shoes that I'm going to be able to run and walk in and dance comfortably, or do I wear the shoes that make my costume look the best? And Leandra says, "You stupid slut, wear the shoes that you can actually walk in and save the good ones for photo shoots." And sometimes I listen to her.
And just think about it like this. We're in a movie theater. We're not on a raised stage.
Yeah.
I regret to inform you that the audience isn't looking at your feet.
I know, but I know that you're anal retentive enough that shoes matter to you too in the costumes.
Dan just chimed in with Oscar is.
Yeah, exactly. We've established that Oscar is a foot admirer, but Leandra, we've established that you also
No.
have
No,
a,
we have not established
yeah,
that.
well, I've established it.
Hmm.
So anyway, but yeah, I know not only can they not really see your feet most of the time, but your audience is A, half watching the movie or the many other people on stage, and B, most of them are trashed.
Thankfully, our theater does sell alcohol, so that is true.
Yeah, and plenty of them bring their own, by the way. We find empty liquor bottles all the time. Even so, like I said, usually because I've actually hurt myself pretty badly playing magenta, and if I twist my ankle or whatever. So I do if I feel like I'm not going to be able to stick it out on the stilettos, I'll just wear a lower heel, a kitten heel.
I think that's for the best. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum bum bum. Yeah. God
We're
stuff.
dumb.
Yeah. No, I'm
So,
not a theater horse.
less about costumes, more about just random stuff in the background. We talked about American Gothic being one of those things that keeps getting repeated in the film. Another one is Mona Lisa. So
Yeah.
the Mona Lisa is in the background above a mantle, and this mantle also has a lot of weird tchotchkes on it, including a literal like fake ice cream cone. So it's very strange. This specific Mona Lisa, I also believe is either in black and white or just very, very pale.
I think it's the image is reversed of what the real Mona Lisa is, so I think it's almost like it's a negative. So
That might be true, yeah.
the image is flipped, and then the colors are maybe done in negative, to complement the fact that the image is facing the wrong direction.
There's so much fun about these little details that I don't know why they added them unless they knew for a fact that everybody was going to be looking at this and going, oh my goodness, look at that Mona Lisa. That one's different than the last one. It's just so strange.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
sure that they knew that 45 years later there would be the movies by minute community picking through this movie, you know.
I mean, I can only assume that Sue Mary, the costumer for this, knew that people were at least going to cosplay, and she decided that that was something she hates, and that's why everything's so difficult to find.
Wrong, Stu. I'm gonna really quickly interject. Sue Blaine was the costumer.
Isn't that what I said?
You said Sue Mary, who was the
Oh,
continuity editor.
yeah.
Yeah.
I get them mixed up because they're both bad at their jobs.
That's true. Sue's to blame, but also when Leandra and I recently saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show, we were being very stupid with each other, and every time we did a Sue's to blame callback, we were going, "No, Sue's to Mary." But anyway, I don't know if it's fair to say they were bad at their jobs, but there are definitely a lot of continuity issues.
Last minute, we talked about the food on the table, and just wanted to circle back to that. We did say that there are flags from around the world, and as I said, pretty sure that they're representing where all the Transylvanians are from. Among the treats are a jello mold, some donuts, and they're occasionally referenced as a bagel, but I really think that they're actually donuts, and some sort of chocolate Christmas tree with cookies on it as ornaments. There are lots of other pastries. This is clearly like a Midwestern cookie table at a wedding, which is a thing. It's a thing. I swear it's a thing. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. But remember, I'm originally from Appalachia. Yeah, the flag towers of food are interesting because that just underscores what we talked about last minute, that I think every Transylvanian is representing a different country, or I think that's what they were going for.
Well, Christopher Biggins is often referred to as the French Transylvanian, so I think that might have something to do with it. I'm not sure, though. I'm comfortable being wrong.
I thought that that was because he's eating that eclair cream puff thing off of the tray with the French flag.
That was the Irish flag, though.
Oh, wasn't it?
I believe I think that was the Irish flag. From last minute you're talking about?
Yeah.
That's Ireland. Yeah.
Christopher Biggins eating as usual. But yeah, I thought it, well, I never looked it up. So that is just an assumption I guess I made.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're a podcaster talking about the details of a movie. Otherwise, like, why would you know that?
See, I'm just talent, so yeah. But no, yeah, you're right. It's just something I never thought that clearly. I just thought, oh, they call him the French one because that must be a French flag. But yeah, I guess that's true. Anyway, I don't know why there would be food representing every different country of the world otherwise. On the other hand, did they bring those with them on the motorcycles? These are questions we're never going to get answered.
Well, I didn't see any Tupperware, so.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see any Tupperware, bitch.
Somebody catered this.
Oh, man.
Somebody catered this party. That's so fun.
Well, that's nice that they gave Magenta a night off.
Yeah. The only other thing that I wanted to specifically talk about is the taxidermied turkey. And I'm pretty sure it is a turkey. It's definitely a plump, somewhat round, dark bird. It might be a turkey vulture, but I'm pretty sure it's actually a turkey. And every time I see it, now that I've seen Shock Treatment, and Eric, when you see Shock Treatment, this will make you laugh. I want to scream, does this bird belong to you?
Yeah. It really honestly looks very similar to the bird in that moment. I was thinking the exact same thing, actually, as I was making my notes. One time after we came out of our Rocky theater, very late at night, outside of a nearby bar in a planter, there was a gigantic dead hawk who I guess had just like died right above the planter and fallen into it. But
I think it hit the window.
Oh, right. I guess that makes sense. So I was technically correct, the best kind of correct. I was looking at this hawk and I was like, holy, shit, this is a huge dead hawk in this planter. And I turned to Leandra, who was on the other side of the street waiting for the light to change, and I yelled like, Leandra, did you see this? And she just went, does this bird belong to you? And my shrieks of laughter echoed throughout the streets of DC. But yeah, that's one of the strangest moments in shock treatment. I can't wait till we talk about that many, many minutes from now.
I'm slowly coming around to the idea. I can be convinced.
It has to happen. I mean, that is something that, and we're the only people in the world who would be crazy enough to do shock treatment in it.
That is not true.
Well,
We are just the people that have the time.
fair. So I was gonna say that this is another teachable moment for potential Rocky Horror Shadowcasters, because you see a really up close of Magenta's face here, and a mistake I think we've all made when dressing as Magenta for the first time is wearing whiteface. I understand how you got there. I had the same mistake, and I've got photographic evidence that Leandra made the same mistake at one point too.
I send out a do as I say, not as I did document to every single person going into Magenta, and I go, listen, I too was like you. I thought that this was right. I was wrong. This is not what that looked like.
And on screen, it looks in some scenes like she's wearing it. At least in this scene, when you look closely, it is just really, really pale foundation. Back in the day, you have to remember too, we did not have the shades of foundations as options that we have now. So yeah, sometimes it would really look kind of ghoulish like that. Plus, they were intentionally making her look ghoulish. But anyway, don't wear whiteface as Magenta, especially if you're performing on a shadow cast, because the stage lights are going to make you look real bad, like really bad.
And not that I'm speaking from personal experience, but shimmery white eyeshadow is not a replacement for white face.
No, she was a shiny bitch. I gotta tell you.
It was a great look for me. I was 17. You can't actually blame me.
No, I cannot. And I also noticed all the different crazy things in the background. For me, the gnome figurines, were they gnomes?
They were.
Yeah, were a fun detail. And also behind the Transylvanian lion that we pan up, the griffin statue that's wearing like a hat is fun for me as well. He's wearing like a bowler hat. Again, this is a great characterization minute for Magenta, because she is just the happiest I think that she is at any point in the movie. I think even when she's talking about returning to her home planet and she's really excited, she is not this giddy. Like the the look of glee on her face when they're doing the back and forth hands, for example. So that's that. And my last note was that Transylvanian line, as we pan up it, is one of your best shots for Transylvanian costuming. So I have paused this so many times, tried to pause it at the exact right second so that I could get a better look at what Peggy Ledger was wearing, so I could try and emulate it in my costume. It's it's the most up close shot you get of her in her Transylvanian costume, and there's photos, but they aren't the same as what she's wearing in the movie, so.
Or they're from the next scene where a lot of the Transylvanian costumes change because fuck you, Sue Blaine, and fuck you, Sue Mary. They united to fuck everything up.
It's so true. Why? I constantly lament that they couldn't use some Polaroids, but I know Polaroid camera wasn't in the budget. Anyway, Eric, did you have any other notes for this minute?
I had two more. Okay. One of them is I just wanted to call out Riff Raff's Hunchback, how great and ridiculous it is, and how much I love it, especially as he goes dancing by with his arms flopping around, and that just big, giant, ridiculous hunchback. It's just really, really great. And the other thing is a question for you two, is in the verse that Columbia does sing in this minute, is she singing about Eddie? Or is it just some random person that doesn't matter?
You know what? I thought Eddie when I started, and then I thought it was Frank.
It is, canonically speaking, supposed to be Frankenfurter,
Okay.
and that she is a Frankie fan first. And when she starts noticing that Frank is losing interest in her, she starts finding herself more interested in Eddie. Things happen later on in the movie, and that's a fun reveal that I won't spoil.
Yeah, because I'm sure lots of people don't know who are listening to this. But
We have a
what
fair number of people who are listening to this and either don't haven't seen Rocky Horror or haven't seen it often, and they have no interest in seeing it, but they're like,
that's
"But it's
it.
so interesting, and I like supporting you."
Yeah, I think it has to. Most of those people, I think, I like. I think I don't know if it's just because they're friends of mine or what, but I think it's crazy that I personally can't listen to minute by minute podcasts until I've seen the movie, or any movie podcast discussing a movie until I've seen it. It's just hard for me to follow.
Yeah, we
What?
had one person that listened to Flash Gordon Minute without having seen the movie. He would listen to our minute and he listened to the podcast, and then when it was done, then he watched the movie so he could see what his theater of the mind compared to the actual movie. And
Oh,
so we actually had him on at the end of the show in one of our final minutes to talk about what that was like. But I could not do that because you don't know what they're talking about.
yeah. I think at least for me, I have a hard time picturing it until I've seen it. But yeah, we do. We have. I've had a bunch of people tell me they haven't seen the movie, but they listen, and we love and appreciate you. So thank you guys. But yeah, that's interesting because that means Frank had a pickup truck.
That's why I thought it was about Eddie, because Eddie is a pickup truck guy. Frank, to me, is not a pickup
Yeah,
truck guy.
it is. It's a little bit confusing, but yeah, Eddie's not a pickup truck guy either, though. He's a
True.
motorcycle boy.
I guess he's more of one than Frank to me.
That
Yeah,
is true.
it's hard to picture it. Frank's not exactly butch, but you can kind of see it later when he's wearing Eddie's jacket and whipping riffraff, maybe.
He's not wearing Eddie's jacket. He's wearing his own jacket.
Oh, that's right. It's not Eddie's jacket. I don't
Sorry,
know why I
crackhead.
always have that in my head. Yeah, no, I know. I'm such a dumb slut, but no, really, like I know it's not Eddie's jacket. I've seen and even worn those costume pieces, but I for some reason I always say that. Anyway, but yeah, so he's wearing a big leather jacket like that.
One final thing before we get into callbacks. Um, Columbia's eyebrows.
Yeah.
I think that they are possibly the thing about Rocky Horror makeup that is the most ridiculous, but
Mhm.
it's also the most delightful to me. They're shaved off and and then redrawn like 18 inches higher so that she
Yeah.
looks constantly surprised.
Yeah, that's a staple of drag makeup, but not one you see on women a lot.
I have multiple times said, you know what? I'm playing Columbia this month. I'm going to shave my eyebrows. And there's always one friend that goes like, yeah, fucking do it. It's going to be great. Eyebrows grow back. And then everybody else goes, no, that's stupid. Leandra, don't do that. You're not getting paid to do this. And I go, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, never do that. Never do that. It would never
Always
be worth
never or
it.
never
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, I know. But seriously, that would be a major regret for you, I think, after Rocky Weekend. But yeah, did you have anything else, Eric?
No, no.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, then, so callbacks, we've got not that many, at least from me. Right after Magenta says, well secluded, you're supposed to flip her off and say, can you see this? And then she says, I see all. And then when Riff says a bit of a mind flip, traditionally you yell over him, mind fuck. And then as she's humping the banister slash bird, it's fuck that bird, eat this bagel. And at least at our show, they say it's gluten free after that. That's not a real thing, possibly, but it's been happening. So, anyway, The riff is offering what we believe to be a donut, but I always hear eat this bagel as they say that. And then Columbia's on the box, and we hear her singing, and you can kind of give her a backup track by like woo, wee woo. It goes along well with her song, so that's one we always hear. That's all I've got, Leandra.
You hit, I think, all of the fun ones, certainly. So there's the, with a bit of a mind fuck, instead of you're into the time slip, some people go, you're into the time suck. And grease that pole, fuck that bird, eat this bagel, it's not kosher, I'm not Jewish. So did you go over the hey do you douche? No, not at all. Where do you fuck in another dimension? How do you fuck with voyeuristic intention? Where are your tits well secluded? Do you see this? And you flip her off. I see all. Oh shit.
Okay, yeah. I only knew the flipping off part, actually.
Yeah, there's a whole thing.
No, I've heard the douching. I forgot that one.
Yeah, and we're not going to go into Rocky Horror Minute Clinic like we have in the past. So, needless to say, we could.
Yeah.
But that's really the major one that I hear, and I'd say that I enjoy it, but I don't know. I'm thinking far more about the dance in this moment than the callbacks.
Yeah. Again, like Time Warp is a little lighter on the callbacks because everybody's worried about dancing. So okay, that's all I've got. So
you know what that means?
Yeah.
We're gonna end this the same way we always do, by saying, now you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So get the fuck out.
Such a dumb slut, dumb slut, dumb slut, dumb slut, dumb slut, dumb slut, dumb slut.
Does this bird belong to you?